Hello, my name is David Weisberg. I am the Senior Rabbi of Temple B'nai Abraham in Livingston. This week's Parsha, Parshat Vayera, is one of the more troubling parshiot of the Torah. And many of us modern readers find it troubling because of two things. One, God, who we are supposed to have trust in, who we are supposed to have faith in, asks the most abominable thing of our ancestor to offer his son as a sacrifice. And we're also troubled by Avraham, who is supposed to be the paragon of role models, who protests on behalf of a city of awful human beings. He doesn't protest when God asks for his son. How do we make sense of it? And the commentators struggle with this through the centuries. I want to offer two explanations that help me find meaning in this text. The first I derive from Rashi's reading. He reads Genesis 22, verse 2, Vayomer kach na et bincha et yechidcha asher ahavta et Yitzchak. Translated, it says, and God says, take now your son, your only one, the one you love, Isaac. And he reads between the lines. He reads that God is adding each word as a qualifier to make it more and more specific. That God starts soft at something that's easy for Abraham to take, and then makes it more and more difficult to soften the blow. I actually read this in Rashi's spirit as a dialogue with Abraham speaking in between. That God says, take your son. Abraham says, come on, God, I've got two sons. Who are you referring to? Abraham's delaying the inevitable. God says, you're only one, as in the only one with your wife, with Sarah. And Abraham says, I've got two sons. I've got one from Sarah. I've got one from Hagar. And God says, the one you love. Abraham says, come on, God. I've got two children. I, of course, love both of them. So God finally says, take Isaac, Avraham. And so we see here that Avraham does protest. It may not be as strong as we would like, but sometimes a little bit of protest is the best we can offer. And to look at God's demand of Abraham, in the ancient world, child sacrifices were not uncommon. They were part of ancient religion. We see that in the Canaanite cultures, and we criticize it heavily in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. We also see throughout the book of Judges and Kings that there are people who engaged in child sacrifice. Yiftach isn't even criticized by the Bible. We read it in a very troubling way, but he offers up his daughter to fulfill a vow that he made, and he's permitted to do so. I think that the Akedah comes as a polemic against this. God demands that level of faith that others in the ancient world offer. God needs to see that Avraham is prepared to go through with it, and then God says, in the nick of time. I demand this level of faith, but I will never again ask you to offer up your child. And in fact, throughout the Tanakh, though child sacrifice happens, God never asks for it and prescribes it. So I think these two readings help me take meaning from this text, that there are many ways to protest, and that our faith is radically different, and our demonstrations of faith need to be radically different from anything that was before, and frankly, from what we may see around us today. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.